myself, Adi Oladipo, the great Gareth A. Davies. All right, let's get straight to this one, Gareth. It looks like after rumors about Manny Pacquiao versus Conor Benn and maybe Adrian Broner and maybe Kell Brook, it looks like we're going to revisit Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously, fell away back in October. This time, they're talking about the fight going to the Middle East and happening in June or July at 160 pounds, no catch weight. So Conor Benn will move up to middleweight to face Eubank Jr. Your first thoughts, before we hear from Eddie Hearn, what's your first thoughts on this?
Well, Conor Benn hasn't cleared his name, and he had clomiphene, a banned substance, in his body on 2 occasions when he was tested last year. I don't think he's cleared his name. He's received an exoneration of sorts with the boxing, with the WBC.
Yeah.
He hasn't cleared his name with the Boxing Board of Control in the UK, who licensed him here for that fight. I think they've bypassed the testing process, and I will say it as I do every time. We love our combat sports, but they are inherently dangerous. There is drug testing for a reason, and the veracity of the drug testing system, if he wants to challenge it, should be because he's challenging VADA's testing, not accepting that his nutritional diet of a surfeit of eggs caused the clomiphene, which the WBC have suggested it could have been from. It doesn't seem morally right for me to go ahead with the fight as it is, or ethically right to go ahead with this fight right now in Abu Dhabi on June the 3rd. We believe, well, Eddie Hearn obviously says they're still negotiating. I think they've just bypassed the whole system. They've thrown the drug testing system under the bus, whether he's innocent or not, and he obviously proclaims his innocence. But they're riding roughshod over the testing system, and I don't think it's good for the sport. It will be a massive fight. It'll be hugely controversial. We will all be there, of course, working on it, but it'll be pilloried during the event, but there will be even more people watching it.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect way of saying this. I agree wholeheartedly with you. I do think that his name needs to be cleared. I do think there's almost this just jumping over hurdles. You need to go to the British Boxing Board of Control. That needs to be sorted. And then I think we'll all put our hands up and say, okay, let's do this. I think right now, it just feels very weird that we're announcing fights, but yet there still is this really big, dark grey cloud over the head of Conor Benn and WBC and Eddie Hearn, and it almost seems like they just want to move on from it. And it feels strange. And look, as you say, we'll all be there. I'll probably be working on the event as well, and I'll do my best to work on the event. But it almost feels like, why is this going on when there is this cloud over the whole situation? Very strange.
Yeah, I mean, there's a cloud over that, and there's an even bigger, higher cloud over boxing for doing it. You know, where the optics on it from a mainstream perspective lends itself to deep criticism of Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn, but also boxing, and maybe even stretching to Chris Eubank Jr. for agreeing to do it as well. Someone in this group needs to take a stance, and again, I go back to, if there was a world governing body for the sport, they would have said, no, you do not fight. We do not license you. There's a unilateral agreement between all the sanctioning bodies in the world, not the sanctioning bodies, the licensing authorities, the commissions, the boards of control in the world, where if someone has tested positive, there's strict liability around it, and you at least have to do your case. It's not going to be satisfactory if Conor Benn fights abroad for 2 years, then does his hearing with the Boxing Board of Control and gets a retrospective ban of 2 years. I mean, may never fight in the UK under the auspices of the British Boxing Board of Control.
No, but what you're saying is fantastic here. You're right. He will get a backdated ban.
For 2 years, having fought abroad.
And by the time he's had a couple of fights abroad, he just comes back and fights in the UK.
I know. It beggars belief, really. I mean, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. It just doesn't. It's just wrong. It's just like, I mean, Derek Chisora put it to. I think Derek Chisora was talking about this last night at the red carpet, and saying, I never cheated. I don't believe people should be allowed to cheat. I mean, I'm not suggesting Ben has had it in his system. He proclaims his innocence. I want to say that for him. He proclaims his innocence. He wants to prove his innocence. Prove it. Go and prove it in a hearing with the Boxing Board of Control under strict liability. The reason why they're not is because he doesn't want to lose 2 years of his career, because they probably will ban him if they don't accept the reasons that are being put forward. There's a lot of legalese behind it all. There's court cases. He wants to take the Boxing Board of Control to court for loss of earnings. It's a horribly complex situation. I think they've jumped over the hurdles, and I don't think they've jumped over the hurdles. I think they're going under them, you know, or maybe even just smashing through the hurdles, you know.
Yeah, I think that's probably the correct phrase. I think they're just smashing through them and showing their might and power.